Is this a new trend? Dual dynamic driver IM that sounds really good for around $50. So hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for 3-star River. First of all, thank you for Keep Hi-Fi for providing me with this review unit. And yeah, they are using dual dynamic driver, one 10mm beryllium dynamic driver and 6mm titanium dynamic driver to be exact, and they cost only around $50. And on top of that, you get some switch here to adjust the sound, and just like usual, I will break down this review from the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. They simply looks really gorgeous, at least that's what I see. In terms of build quality, they are simply using resin, but I don't know, man, it just looks really amazing for the price point. And you got vent hole on the top here, and on the back side you also get the switch. And I have to say that I cannot change the switch using my nails, but fortunately you do get this SIM card remover that works perfectly to change the position of the switch. And the cable itself is using 12-pin connectors, and the cable, I just really like this kind of cable. They are really flexible and non-microphonic. And on top of that, you also get this really soft 3 Clarion ear tips that I really love. In terms of ergonomic, they are simply perfect for my small ears. They are really stable in my ears when I'm walking, and they are non-microphonic. I simply said they are perfect for me. Before talking about how they sound, I need to explain something unique here. You could see that the switch, there are 4 positions of the switch, but if you take a look at my Squig.link, the one on position and also all off position are all the same, and also 2 on and all on position are also the same. So I need to say that the Squig.link, it is already normalized at certain decibel, so I need to give you this raw frequency response without any normalization. You could see that the switch does work, but in a unique way, because it's simply the one switch simply give you more SPL level, giving you more volume rather than giving more bass. At first, when I turn on the switch on the one, I somehow feel that it gives a little bit of thickness, but apparently not really. On the contrary, it simply gives you more SPL level. So that's, I don't know why they did that, but that's just how is it. Frequency response wise, this simply could be categorized as V-shape with that elevation on the sub-bass and also upper mid-range elevation. But in reality, because of how fast the sub-bass punch is, some even might perceive it as simply mid-range focused or simply bright. So starting from the low frequency, it is a very tight and fast kind of bass. I believe that a lot of you who are bass head will not be satisfied with this kind of bass, but I have to say that the control and depth and the kick on the real sub bass there is really good. So if you are metal heads or you love hearing for rock music that needs fast kind of bass, I do feel that this will give you that. But if you are looking for something that has thick and meaty kind of bass, you will not get them here. When it comes to mid-range, you do get 2 choices here. The first one is being turned off. You turn off all of the switches, while the second choice you get when you turn on the second switch. And for me, when you turn on the second switch, the mid-range forwardness is simply too much. That makes this IM comes into shouty and thin territory. Therefore, I just suggest you to try not to turn on the second switch for its optimum ability for this IM. And that being said, even though you turn off the second switch, the signature of this IM is still mid-range forward. The vocal is still definitely forward, especially when you hear higher human voices. Like if you're hearing a lot of female vocals, that will be more apparent when you comparing them with male vocalists such as Michael Bublé or Sam Smith. That sounds a little bit recessed for me, but for female vocals like Celine Dion or Ariana Grande, that simply feels really forward and clear. And for me, that's where the special part of this IM is. you get a really vocal focused IM with a lot of clarity, a lot of details. Every pronunciation of the words are clear and forward, but you somehow get this smoothness across the board. I don't know, that this smoothness layer maybe comes from its driver technology. I'm not sure, but for me this is unique, and that is the main star of this IM, which is the mid-range. Coming to the higher frequency, well, this IM, maybe it follows the middle frequency here. It focuses on the upper mid-range to lower treble area that somehow gives you some intenseness maybe on some cymbals or some trumpets and some violins, but it doesn't really goes high into the upper region territory, upper treble territory. So in some of the music like La Campanella or La Primavera, I do feel that the violin sounds, even though it's forward, but there's like a rolled off around the edge of the violin, making it somehow a little bit compressed maybe in some recordings. But other than those classical music, for a lot of music, I do feel that this kind of treble is just enough and it's really clear also. But still, the main star of this IM is simply the mid-range. So simply said, this IM as a whole, I could simply say that this IM is a mid-range focused IM, but with added sub-bass. But that being said, like I said, the sub-bass is so fast and it's only focused on the deep bass, so you're maybe in some songs you don't really get it. So if you are looking for something that has a lot of bass, a lot of thickness in the bass, you don't get here. But if you're maybe looking for some music more like classical or acoustic or simply jazz or vocalist kind of music, this will suit you really well with those kind of genre. Now going to the technical part, I do believe that this IM has a really good resolution, at least for $50. It's one of the best clarity form vocal that I've ever heard. It has also great layering of, you do get a clean separation from the bass and mid-range. The mid-range is clearly separated from the bass. There's no muddiness here. There's a good resolution here, but maybe the soundstage itself is not the most three-dimensional that I've ever heard. But that being said, you do still get a quite nice width for left and right dimension. So it's not the most majestic kind of sound that you will get from this IM, but in terms of clarity, resolution, and detail, it's good. Now, how is it compared to some of the IMs, to put into perspective? Like comparing them with one of my champion for $30 price point, the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. This is not the most resolving IM for the price, but the tuning is just simply lovely for the price. Now comparing them both, this IM costs $50 and this $35, so they are really close in price point. But I could simply say that the 3-star River simply pulls ahead in terms of detail and clarity, especially when it comes to that mid-range. But that being said, this 3-star River does sound thinner compared to the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. I should say, as a whole, Cadenza has better mid-range evenness, especially for male vocals. But in terms of clarity, when you hear vocal, you instantly hear that the 3-star River is simply a level ahead of the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. So that's how I perceived how the 3-star River really great in terms of vocal clarity. Now, how is it compared to another dual dynamic driver IM, the KKZ HBB Con? Well, they are simply different beasts. While the KKZ HBB Con, one driver is definitely the star of the show, which is the bass. It's such I don't know how they make it, but the bass is really like a subwoofer like bass, while the other dynamic driver is to maintaining balance for the upper mid-range and treble. But this IM has one driver. For the star is the mid-range to treble driver, while the sub-bass driver here, it's just like a complementary, so you don't missing the bass. So yeah, simply said, they are both different. If you wanna hear vocal focused music, the 3-star River simply pulls a level ahead of the KKZ HBB Con when you're comparing them. It's just more forward, better clarity and better texture. But if you want more like a bass, and if you want to watch movies or maybe playing games, I do feel that the immersiveness, that subwoofer effect, that kind of grandiose effect from the KKCHB Beacon is totally different from the Star River that will feels kind of cramped, while this KKCHB Beacon sounds more majestic. But I cannot say which one is the better overall because they are simply different beasts. But if you ask for my personal choice, I still prefer the KKCHB Beacon. Simply say it because I hear more of orchestral soundtracks. I don't really hear to a lot of vocal focused music. So, but if you are listening to more of a vocal focused music, I do believe that the 3-star viewer for $50 price point, this is simply the clearest yet still smooth kind of vocal that I could get in this price point, and it is simply my best recommendation if you're looking for a very forward and clear kind of vocal. So that's all I could say about this IM, and this is my final score for its tonal, technical, and my final score. Overall, this is a nice comeback from 3 Audio. At only $50 price point, it offers something that is completely different from the other. I have never heard this kind of sound signature at this price point, and it gives a fresh air, definitely gives you more option rather than more harmonish kind of IM. So that's all I could say, yeah. And thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.